I am excited to introduce Becky. Becky is a recreation and leisure diploma student at Georgian, and she's here to share an inspiring story of how God has worked in her life as she's actually returned to post-secondary education as a mature student. She works full-time as a store manager at the party store, and Becky is also making most of her commitment to college and her experience as well, because just recently Becky has actually taken on as the student executive president of the Georgian Lakehead Student Christian Fellowship. So it's pretty exciting. We get to work together in so many different ways, and I believe you're going to love hearing her story, and it's going to encourage you. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do a little differently. We're going to do it like an interview conversation style today. And I think as Becky responds to some of my questions, she may have some of her own questions herself. But it's a great opportunity to share some questions about her life, her faith, and her journey. So I'll just let you get started however you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, Becky. But can you share about your journey in how you put your faith in Christ?
Hello, everyone. So Sean pretty much did sum it up. That's my life. I'm a student. I work full time. I became a Christian back when I was 15 years old. My sister, who is over here, invited me to our youth group. And I actually gave my life to Jesus while we were watching Heaven's Gates and Hell's Flames, a play that our church had put on. But about a year after that, I really understood that it was more about a relationship with Jesus. It wasn't just about, not going to hell, going to heaven, but it was more about a relationship and the way that you're living your life. And funny enough, I dedicated my life at a play for the kids in our church, where it actually talked about the relationship between Jesus and me. And since then, I've been in church in Alliston up until 2008, and then I moved up to Barrie, and I've been attending Calvary Community Church since then.
Becky, I know that there are some things that God has brought you through, even in being able to just even share today. So maybe if you could just enlighten us, what are some ways that you've grown in your walk in the Lord? What are some challenges, adversities maybe that God has helped you to overcome? If you could just encourage us with that.
Yeah, so that's the fun part of the story. Prior to the pandemic, for probably a good 10 years, I was living with an anxiety disorder, and it had also kind of morphed into an eating disorder as well. So even 2 years ago, I was about 100 pounds heavier than I am now. I never would have been standing in front of a group of people. I wouldn't have even been in this room, actually. Even at my church, I was in the foyer or standing right at the edge of the sanctuary. I barely went to family gatherings, or I was kind of just like there and in and out, couldn't eat around people, couldn't really function properly. I was working. I've been at the same job for 12 years. Amazing bosses who understood what I was going through, kept me on, but I was just barely holding on to that job because I couldn't really function in the way that I needed to. Physically, I couldn't do the job, and I kind of knew that something needed to change. I had been back and forth from counseling, didn't really want to talk to anyone, wasn't really ready to commit to making a change because I was scared of what would happen. I was scared of making that change. I didn't like the way I was living, but I was more afraid of changing it and what might happen. Basically, everything I did in life was based around my anxiety and my fear. All my decisions, anything that I had to do was timed around when I needed to eat or when I needed to hide the fact that I was eating. At that point, I was addicted to a meal replacement as well. So my day went eating the same foods at the same time all day long, and 6 meal replacements on top of that. So it kind of got to the point where I decided, this does have to change. I had reached out to a couple of friends. We were trying to figure out how I can make a change in my life. And right in the middle of that was when the pandemic hit. That's probably the point in time where a lot of people just went into survival mode. Just get through the pandemic, get through all the lockdowns. But for me, that was kind of what pushed me to actually make huge changes in my life and not just hold on to where I was. It kind of came about as a necessity because I was laid off. We're a party store, we're not essential. So I was laid off, I was at home, and I couldn't afford to buy the meal replacements, and I couldn't afford to eat all the food that I was eating. And I thought, well, you know what, God? Now's the time. I don't have a choice. So it was either go into a full-blown panic crisis situation or finally just say, I've started this process already, I can trust God, and He can bring me through this. So it was a good long while of just step by step, I'm gonna cut out this one meal replacement in the morning. And I had a fantastic friend who she said, text me whenever you need. Sometimes it was 4 o'clock in the morning, she was up nursing I think her daughter was 3 at the time. She would be nursing her and she'd text me to check in because she knew I would be up at 4 in the morning wanting to drink one of those meal replacements. So it literally was step by step, just, okay, God, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna cut out this one meal replacement. And during that time, that's when I really realized what I had learned from a good friend of mine. She had said, in the moments where you're having a struggle, in the moments where you're like, no, I can't do this, don't pray for yourself. She said, if you're praying for yourself, that's fine, but you're gonna be thinking about what you're thinking and praying. If I'm sitting there going, okay, God, I'm anxious, I wanna drink this, I wanna eat this food, I'm still thinking about it. But if I choose to pray for someone else, that takes the focus off of me and puts it back on someone else and puts it back on God. So that's what I did in those times. She had said, you know what, if you don't know who to pray for, start with your church leadership. Past that, pray for your missionaries. Pray for people on your street. Pray for anyone you can think of, just to get it off of yourself and focusing on other people. And through that time, that's what I did. I said, okay, God, we're giving this to you, and we're gonna focus on other people through this. And that's kind of the entire focus I had that's brought me back to school and everything else as well, because God brought me right through that. Huge, huge changes. I'm not gonna go into all the steps that I took to make the changes, but the major change is that I can trust God now. I have been a Christian since I was 15, but I had trouble trusting Him with all the areas of my life. I like control. I'm fantastic when I'm in control. I have anxiety when I'm not, but I know that I don't need to have that anxiety. One of the things that God showed me through that time was, since I became a Christian, one of my favorite verses in the Bible is, do not be anxious about anything, but through everything in prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God that transcends all understanding will guard your hearts and your minds in Jesus. We learned that back when I was in youth group, and I loved it. But when it came to my life, I would think that once I'm through this bad situation, I'll have that peace. I can tell God, here's my mountain that I'm trying to climb. And in my mind, it was, okay, when He gets rid of that situation, I'm gonna have peace. But that's not actually what that verse says. It says when you present that to God. And He really showed me that over the last couple of years, that once I've given that situation to Him, that situation might still be there. I still have times that I have anxiety. I still have times where I think back to the struggles that I have with eating. But I know as soon as I give it to Him, that's where the peace comes in. He's gonna take it, and I can continue to live my life and not have to live it in the fear and in the anxiety that I've been living in the past.
That is so encouraging, Becky. He reminds me just even how recently I was having to take my daughter to the hospital. I had to rush her to the hospital, and I was quite anxious.
Yep.
And yet, even as I reflected, because I had to spend the whole night in the hospital with my daughter while my wife was back taking care of the kids. But I came back and, with thanksgiving, presented my request to the Lord. But I had such a good time actually talking with my daughter, especially after she got the morphine. Because it's amazing then how she started to open up more, right? But it was actually a really good time. I got to really hear her heart now, right? So anyways, you never know how that can turn out. So I want to ask you, how has your faith impacted your work and your educational choices now?
Yeah. So as Sean was saying, I am back at Georgian as a mature student. Back in 2021, I enrolled in the Recreation and Leisure Services program that I'm going to finish up with therapeutic recreation as a postgrad. And that decision was based mainly over the last couple of years as I changed things in my life, as I found God's freedom in my life. A lot of that had to do with just getting out and to outdoor recreation. That was the chance that I really had to pray, was taking long walks, going hiking in the forest. That's where I really spend my time praying, just talking to God. And in that, I found so much freedom just as well what I could do physically. I couldn't do anything physically, basically, when I was struggling and when I was overweight. And I know that the people who have helped me through this, a lot of it was just getting past the mental health struggles and getting past the physical struggles. And that led me thinking, well, what do I actually want to be doing with my life? And I realized I want to help others who need that help, especially with mental health struggles. I've talked to so many students already, even just, we have a gym class. We have a 2-hour gym class on Thursday mornings at 8 a.m. And so many of them have said, I don't want to go to the class because I'm not athletic and I worry about what people think. Even just mental health struggles like that, just to be able to help the students that I'm with now and then be able to help people in my profession afterwards. So I'm back at Georgian for a 2-year program, and then it'll be a year post-grad after that.
That is really awesome. You know, we've been blessed to be a blessing and to hear how God has been writing new chapters in your life, Becky, through your focus on others. You know, even just thinking about as you were working through those times of anxiety and how God was showing you to put focus on praying for others, right? And now even your life decisions or your career decisions are starting to be impacted by your focus on others.
Yep.
And you know, how many times, like, I don't know about yourself, but you know, recreation, leisure, when you get involved with different adventures with people, what a great opportunity to build connections and relationships, and to think that that will take you into even some therapeutic recreational opportunities in the future. That's really, really cool. I'll continue to, you know, journey with you and pray with you as you do that. I guess just lastly, can you share what God has been doing in your participation with the Georgian Lakehead Student Christian Fellowship? And you know, maybe even, you know, sharing what he's been doing, but what are you hoping for? What are you dreaming for with that?
Yeah.
And I know Jen, wave. We have our friend Jen Weston, Jen and Jeff. They shared last year about the birthing of the Net Campus Ministries and Georgian Lakehead Student Christian Fellowship, which is an official student group of the Georgian College Student Council. They're partnering with Jeff and Jen with the Net Campus Ministry. So I think you're going to hear some great things that God's been doing with the group from Becky here.
Yeah. Like Sean was saying, we're partnered together, and to be able to meet on campus, we have to be a recognized group. So GLSCF is our recognized group on campus, and we partner with the Net Ministry to run some different programs. Our main one is Thursday nights on campus. We rent out a room in the Last Class restaurant. We buy a meal for any students who come, and we're really there to support the students. We don't really have an agenda for those nights. Sometimes we'll bring in guest speakers, but really our focus is to just meet with the students, talk about the needs that they have, support them in whatever way they need. Like our first meeting this year, we just got to know everyone. We went around the table, kind of introduced ourselves, what programs we're in. By the next week, our numbers had grown, and Jeff tried to lead a little bit of a discussion, and conversations off on every side because people were just connecting. And we love it. He just looked at me and he goes, I love this. Because that's what we want to do. We just want to be there for students. We have a mix. It's not all Christians who come to it. We have some Hindu students who come. We have some students who have said, I have no clue what I believe. And that's exactly what we want. We want it open for all students to just have a place to come, to be able to share kind of what they're going through, even just to walk in and say, I had 3 tests today, I don't even want to talk, I'm just going to eat. That's still fantastic. So this year, Jeff and Jen had asked me to join the executive. We have to have an executive of students. And because I'm a student, again, I can do that. And I've just been so blessed to be able to go to those nights. I've met with some of the students outside those nights as well, or just texting with them. But just to be able to say, you know what, I get it. I'm a student too. You know what, you're going into midterms next week, I get it. You had a hard test, I get it. Your teacher hasn't emailed you back in 4 days, I get it. Like, it's just, being a student is hard. I didn't go to college or university out of high school. I went straight into work. It's hard for me now. I think I actually have it easier than the students who are there because I have life experience, I have job experience. And seeing some of the struggles that they have, hearing some of the stories that they're sharing, has just completely confirmed that that's where I need to be, that I want to be on campus, I want to be working with students and just being able to connect. If someone texts and says, hey, I have a midterm this afternoon, can you come pray with me? I want to be on campus to be able to do that. So I actually am going into school full-time in January. I've been working full-time and doing school part-time. I'm now switching that around so that I can be on campus more and connecting more with the students. We're still kind of up in the air what I'll be doing for work for sure in January. I may or may not be switching things up, but my goal hopefully is to be on campus doing as much as we can with the NET ministry and with GLSCF, just to be able to meet the needs of the students. One of the things Jeff did this year, we had an orientation table just to be able to talk to students. And he said, what are you looking for from us? And the number one thing the students said was social connections, that they need to be able to connect with other students. We have so many international students who are here in Canada, just moved this summer. We have so many students who have come from other schools, so many students who have been only doing online studies because of the pandemic, that they're just craving that connection with people and needing to know how to connect with people. And that's really what I'm expecting. That's where I want to see this go. Like, last week, we doubled our numbers. We meet in a room where you can have 15 people. I think we had 26 people last week. So we're doubling numbers. More and more students are bringing friends and just coming on out. So I want to see that growing. I want to see us being able to go to the bigger room in the restaurant, renting out the whole restaurant. You know, just that this is going to become something where students of all faiths, students who don't know if they have a faith, can come and join and have support while they're in school.
Where do the finances come from? Meals that they're supplying to the...
Excellent question. Yes, great. Yeah, how do we cover this? And the NET Campus Ministry actually exists by faith. So if God is speaking to any of you, you want to participate with that, please connect with Jen or go on to the net.link for more information. If you want to even sponsor one of those weeks, you could do that for maybe $200, $250. It covers the majority of the expenses that week. And if you want to connect with Jeff and Jen, they'd love to have you come as a guest. Maybe you could share on a particular topic for a few minutes and then have some dialogue. Our friend Clem Bamacoli, some of you know Clem, but Clem actually shared here last year, and Clem is our faculty advisor for the group. Clem went out last week. He was blown away. He's like texting me, I can't believe this. This is amazing. This is what we've been praying for years, which, by the way, we have a group of professors and staff that pray every week, and Clem's part of that with me. We've been praying for this for well over 5 years, so it's pretty exciting to see answered prayer right in front of you. Yeah. The research indicates that more than 2/3 of students in higher education in Canada and the United States have some kind of spiritual interest. Yet more than half, and Dave, you'd know all about this, right, with campus ministries, but more than half don't actually have the opportunity to have some kind of spiritual discussion with a professor, staff member, or some kind of member on campus. So this is a great opportunity for students to come together, talk about spiritual issues, and I think well over 106 students actually signed up at orientation for follow-up. And, you know, they're asking for spiritual care. Yeah. So if you want to be a part of that, be praying for Becky, be praying for the rest of the executive, be praying for Jeff and Jen. Maybe connect with them if you want to be a part of that kind of ministry. It's continuing. you know, we've got people from all different backgrounds, all different ages, different programs that are getting involved with this, so it's pretty exciting. I'm just looking at our time, and our time has come to an end, but oh my goodness, I don't know about you, I'd love to hear more. Wouldn't you? Hey, that's so exciting. Thank you so much, Becky. And we're just so thankful. You can hear from, you know, everyone's response, but Ron also has a special gift to give you that he forgot, but I will be giving it to you, okay? So it's no problem, but we got a lot to think about, so.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much, folks. Thank you for coming. Again, please mark it on your calendar. It's the second Wednesday of the month that we get together. I've got a couple of people that we're looking at for November. If you can join us next Tuesday night at Life 100.3 at 7 p.m. for our Maximizer launch, that would be great.